there are two pandemics underway. Clearly, the public health COVID-related pandemic, and then we're also seeing the perpetuation of falsehoods and mistruths over social media. It's a growing concern, not just to us within the party, not just to us here in Gibraltar, but around the world. Recently acknowledged by the UN, which launched a Pledge to Pause program. The consideration there being very much, have you considered the material, the content on social media that you might be liking or sharing? And if we can stop falsehoods from going out through social media, simply by taking a step back, reflecting on the content you're reading and validating whether or not it's actually true, you can stop what in essence, in some cases, might be simple, harmless noise, but in other cases, the falsehoods could very much be dangerous, as we had seen with COVID-related matters, which could go back down to considerations for COVID remedies through to how masks might be dangerous. And clearly, a lot of these are not necessarily true. And if people believe that they are, it can give them a false sense of confidence, fundamentally undermining a lot of the hard work that's being done by CDCs, which are the Centers of Disease Control's research and efforts to roll out programs.
So what's your advice to someone who comes across a post on social media which runs contrary to expert opinion, for example?
I think there's two things. First of all, when you're looking at a post of that sort, or even a comment, the first thing that you should do is consider whether or not you share it or engage with it in the way of a like. If you are going to comment on such a post on social media, it's important you do so constructively and without antagonizing the people that you're engaging with. You don't want to create a war. And if it's a case of, well, somebody might be mistaken or misled by what they had previously seen, be aware that they might very well have read this and really genuinely believe that that is the case. As such, it might be better, rather than trying to create conflict by way of an argument over social media, simply either choose not to engage or point out that they might be mistaken in as polite a manner as possible.
Having written into your code of conduct, this is now a foundation of what Together Gibraltar is, and it has affected the party setup, hasn't it?
Well, absolutely. I'll tell you a little bit about the code of conduct changes that we've seen through. So the amendments were really two parts. The first being that we as a party should not be perpetuating those falsehoods that we might see over social media. We encourage, in fact, it's important that all of our executives first go through and take a second to validate the content that they might feel obliged to share. The second thing, the second point on our code of conduct that's been amended, very much ties in with the first. All of our policies, our stance on wide matters, particularly ranging around public health and the environment, is very much based on science. And our party values have always been based on peer-reviewed science. And this is just going through and elaborating that point to ensure that when we engage both in social media and otherwise, it's important that we do so from a perspective of science-based, peer-reviewed science-based perspective. We have seen a couple of changes to the executive since we've started engaging this. And I think that the polarizing elements of the pandemic that we're currently on has led to some changes within the executive. The most notable of which was the departure of executive member Tamsin Suarez, who stood with us in the 2019 general election and did a fantastic job with us. She had opposing views on some of the pandemic-related matters, and unfortunately, we had to part ways. Her exit was sad for the party, but we wish her the very best and in all of her future endeavors.